Good evening. It is Monday, the 19th of February, 2024. It is 9:30 p.m. UK time. It is 8:30 a.m. in Australia, where my very special guest tonight is not in Sydney, in a different place, which she'll tell us about. But she's someone I've known for a little while in terms of the 45-day community, 45 Queens, 45 Kings Collective, getting involved on Twitch, being a moderator, being a viewer, being a really good supporter, and then now streaming and doing like a mix, a 45s mix, and really getting involved. And she says I've inspired her and she's inspired me. So I thought it'd be great to have a conversation about lots of really cool things. So without further ado, it's early morning there, so give a bit of a break, but it's Josie Styles.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Yeah, we are waiting. I think there is a raid from your friend of
Hamburg,
mine, Svalansky, coming
the
in.
bearded one.
Yes, Platin Pat's officials raided into him, and then he's going to sort of raid to us. So we'll sort of wait to talk about how great we both think Svalansky is when he gets here. We'll make him blush. We'll make him blush. But it's great to see you. Thank you so much for coming on the show, getting up early. I know it's early over there.
It is. It is. I did a 5-hour stream yesterday.
Yep.
And then had a bit of a party with some friends. Well, actually, I didn't. I had to go door knocking for a petition to save some koalas around here.
Right. Okay. We've got a lot to talk about. We might get onto that as well, because there's frogs. You mentioned being a scientist, and that's on top of all the music stuff we're doing. But here we go. We've got Decal.
Hey, Dave.
Who we both know. So it's great to see Dave in the house. And with all my guests, I always start at the beginning because I think it's important. Music's been a big part of my life, so I know a big part of lots of people's lives, but it's always great to see when that started. So from musical influences, how old were you? Who was it? Friends, brothers, sisters, parents? Who was it who first got you into music?
Definitely my dad, because my dad was a jazz pianist, played a lot of session keys with people with the likes of John Sangster, so really high quality jazz musos from the late 70s or mid to early 70s. And he's like, oh, don't you remember being like 2 years old and being in John's front yard, in his living room when we were recording Lord of the Rings trilogies? And I'm like, no, Dad, I was 2. Like, I don't remember that. But yeah, he's got an extensive record collection, of which I have some over there. And yeah, it was just, I don't know, I used to take his records and make mixtapes out of them like every other kid, I guess. All the 45s. And then as I got older, I kind of moved away from kind of that like 60s, 70s music and started getting to hip hop when I was about in year 5, so 10 or so, 11.
Year 5, yeah. So I suppose that, yeah, because Easy's in year 5, so 10. Yeah, so
Yeah,
10.
yeah.
So that's when you got into hip hop.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's
basically,
pretty young, isn't it?
well, I don't know. It was kind of like really popular by then. It was like Grandmaster Flash was out and we'd break out the cardboard and everyone would start breaking and we'd have like spray cans and we'd do like really whack tags. And I got suspended at the primary school for tagging the amphitheatre with chalk.
Right. That's amazing. That's a great story.
And so, yeah, I guess I kind of like sort of about 2 years after that, I was like dating a boy that was a writer, really good writer. And he was playing like really mad rap, so like Eric Ben Rakim and things like that, Beasties, and then probably really Def Jam focused. And then friends of mine went over to Singapore and came back with all the Native Tongues.
Amazing.
Albums, and that was the game changer for me. It was hip hop from there on. Yeah.
And at that time, was that vinyl? Was it records you were?
It was records, yeah. So they would bring back the records, and then I had one of those old stereo systems that had the 2 cassettes down the bottom, and I would like record every single album, the 12, the instrumental, the remix, the B-sides, like everything. I've still got a couple of those tapes. So yeah, that would be like 1988, 89.
Okay, that's Yeah. So we're about the same sort of age then, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 50
Although,
this year.
yeah. I'll be 50 in a year or two, but yeah, we're getting there. But I'm going to say hello to a few people because I think the raid may be coming in very soon. But before the chaos arrives,
Before the chaos ensues, that is
let's say hello. Obviously,
Stolansky.
we'll say hello to Decal. Welsh Swanee is here. He's been on the show before, as have Decal and Shoestring. He's been on the show, and Ed Bond.
Oh, morning,
Uh,
gal.
it's amazing. Soul Taker's here. I hope you're doing well, man. Mark Lancaster, he's been on the show. Danny's been on the show, but Danny just wants to hear about frogs. He doesn't want to hear about
Is
records.
it? Okay.
So yeah, maybe. Well, let's throw it open. Danny created the section which I forgot to tell you about, which is Confectionery Corner, where I expected people to bring 3 sweets or a couple of sweets or something from their childhood or retro. I forgot to tell you, so don't worry.
I'm like, I don't have any physical sweets in the house, so.
No, maybe we can just talk about stuff. But we've also got Mr. Passemix. But in terms of
Bonjour.
frogs, because I've seen your Instagram post, tell us about frogs. Why are they such a big part of your life?
Well, frogs are a very important indicator for biodiversity. So they're kind of like one of those indicator species. So frogs are going extinct, then we've got a problem with our waterways. We've got a problem with the balance, really, in the ecology of the area. So I can see Svalanski's just come in with a
Just come in with the
raid.
raid, yes.
Yeah.
And we've got Double P. We've got
Ali
Ali
J, hey
J. Yeah.
girl. Good to see you.
Who else have we got here? Come in. We've got Ali J. Who said that? Tea Cake's here as well.
Morning, tea cake. Or evening, actually, for you, Mob.
Hay Rigs as well. So yeah, Funky Bakery,
They're
Majestic
betting. They're
LV.
going to bet how long it is before I curse.
Well, yeah, if we'll see what happens. They might have a
Trying my
sweepstake.
best.
There might be a sweepstake.
We could do a poll.
Well, it's after the watershed here. It's after 9:30, 9 o'clock. So I think we're okay in the UK. But yeah, and we have got Barty Cats as well in the house. Yeah, we're streaming to Instagram as well. And
Oh, thanks, buddy.
yeah, Barty's been on a show or two before. And Rodrigo Rockmore, Eisenman, welcome in everyone. It's great to see you. So I'm here with Josie. We've got lots of things to talk about, but we've got to the point where we're talking about frogs. So let's start that section again for those who just joined us.
Yeah, so frogs, like I said, the frogs are an important indicator of the health of an ecosystem, the health of a country. If you don't have frogs, like native frogs, then it means your water's not clean, you don't have enough insects in your backyard. And basically, it's a disruption of balance. And it can mean environmental factors like drought or too much rain. But I don't know, I got into frogs as part of my work when I was at university doing my undergrad, when they said to me, you know, you can get paid to go catch frogs. And I was like, what? And so I
How much?
went out. It was $36 an hour.
Now, so when was that?
That was 1997.
So was that worth quite a lot of money then, I guess, back then?
It was, as an undergrad student. Oh my gosh, yes. I had like 5 jobs. One included things that I probably shouldn't talk about on air.
Okay, well, we'll stick to the frogs. So you're going out
Stick to the
collecting
frogs.
frogs for $36 an hour.
Correct. And you would start in the swamps at roughly 8 p.m. and crawl out of the swamps at 8 a.m. or 5 a.m. depending on
How
daylight savings.
big are these swamps that you're
We
crawling
had
out of?
we had pretty much a whole suburb to cover because they were building the 2000 Olympic site
Right,
in
okay, yeah.
Sydney. So we would, if they wanted to build over here, we would then have to get all the frogs out of there so they could build, and then be back on site during the day to clear any frogs that might have come back.
And where would those frogs go? Where would you take them?
We would relocate them to to different areas, and they all
Right.
got pit tagged and genetically tested, etc.
Okay. Interesting. And how long did you do that for? Well, I mean, you still do it
20
now.
years and still going.
Yeah. And is it still as enjoyable and as exciting as it used to be?
I think so, yeah. There's something about catching animals to me that's like almost predatorial. Like, I love the thrill of the chase, and it's like if I can see an animal over there, I'm like, I know I've got to get you. I can see some eye shine, so I'm like zero in on that.
Wow. Okay. And is that in a way collecting as well, because you're collecting different species of frog brings us
Yeah.
quite nicely back to the records from when you said that you sort of got into hip hop quite an early age. So when did you start collecting records?
Oh, I think probably like I think my first record was Wham. So that would have been like 1984, maybe. One of the
Uh,
Wham 45s.
have you still got it?
Yeah, I do. I'm just looking at it.
Yeah, but it's amazing that you've got something that is now really back in vogue again, isn't it? Because obviously
I
with the
know.
documentary and people finding out so much more about Wham, I didn't know a lot about them. You know, I knew their music, but that was about it. But it's interesting that we're still now playing records that you bought originally back in the 80s.
Yeah, and then Decal came back from the UK with a couple for me, Club Tropicana and Wham Rap. So I was so
Yep.
stoked. And yeah, I was like, oh, damn, I really wanted that Club Tropicana 45 because Spolansky plays it. And I was always like, damn, it's the one I didn't have.
Right.
And when I was really young, so it would have been, oh, yeah, year six, I think, there was this show in Australia called Red Faces. And it was like I don't know how you would describe it, comedy sketch, not even comedy sketch show, but kind of
Like a Saturday
a
Night Live or a.
yeah, kind of, but in really, really racist. It was so bad, so terrible.
Things were
I
quite
think
a lot more racist back then.
I know they still are. Look, Harry Connick Jr. went on there like maybe 10 years ago in whiteface. But
Right. Okay.
anyway, me and my friend at the time in year six, so we would have been 11 or 12. We were going to go and do Wham Rap on
Right.
a thing called Red Faces. So yeah, we never did it.
No. No. Okay. Probably a good thing.
Yeah, would have been shame job forever.
Yeah. So that's your first record. So where did it sort of go from there then? You know, and were you spending your own money? Were you getting pocket money, or how was it working?
My grandma actually bought me a lot of records. She bought me my first Rick Astley 45, bless her, cotton socks. And then I used to buy lots of compilations. So we had like, summer hits over the top, 1981 or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you could buy the comps. And I just listened to a lot of radio and I would just do like pause button mixtapes on the radio, things like that. And then it probably, yeah, I think I started to buy more like I got into my teenage years and went a bit more existential and started buying like, The Doors and Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and all that jazz, which I still have and play on streams.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I started to really kind of I didn't really, I just was, as hard as everyone just had tapes. Like we all just had cassettes. There was DJ Chrissy from Melbourne. She did a show called Stepping to the AM. And we would trade her tapes from her shows. They would come from Melbourne and get their way up to Sydney. And I just like listened to them all the time.
That's amazing because it's different, obviously, what we do now. But obviously, you are there, and a DJ or a music collector or whatever is giving you a tape and trading tape so that you can hear what they've got in their collection and they can hear what you've got in your collection. And look, here we are on Twitch. You know, I'm playing records to you and other people from my collection, and you're playing records from your collection. It's the sort of 21st century equivalent, isn't it?
It is. And I've had that relationship with quite a few people overseas, like Evil Ed in the UK,
Yeah.
Disorder. We would always send each other mixtapes, care packages. And I just think it was like, how it's like our love letter to hip hop, our love letter to music. And it's a way of just mixtapes are just the way, like, on High Fidelity, the movie or the
Yeah.
book, like it's just mixtapes are very important.
And I think the way we sort of stream on Twitch, I know you've been doing 5-hour sets, but when we do sort of like the raid trains and it's like an hour set, it is almost like, right, here's my mixtape for this event or this day or this celebration or whatever it is. So it's great, again, that, like you say, it's a bit of a love letter to music that we can sort of share our passions live on air now, can't we?
Yeah, and you can play a few more obscure things. Like it's so funny. I did a set in Brisbane a couple of weeks ago. Started with Paddy Drew, Hard to Handle, and I was like, yeah, that's a pretty standard banger. And mind you, it was a 47-degree day, but it cleared the dance floor completely. And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Oh,
And
okay.
I was like, all right. And they're like, the brief was soul, right? And so I was like, oh, okay, I'll play soul. And they didn't know anything I was playing. And I was like, all right, then I'll just give you some Nancy Sinatra. And that brought everyone back on the dance floor. Anyway, fast forward 2 weeks later, I go to Sydney, played the same set, had the whole place jammed on the first song, which was Patty Drew.
Yep. It's crazy, isn't it?
So it's like, I try to read the brief, and the brief up there was
I
definitely
think
not as clear.
no, but I think it's been interesting going back to DJing out again from the pandemic, and we'll talk about the pandemic in a bit. But it's been interesting, sort of, because we've got used to finding our tribe and having people who appreciate music or appreciate us. It's then very difficult to go out into the general public and try and entertain them because that's what they want, really. They're not there to check you out or really interested in the music. They just want to have a good time. So it is a very different style of DJing, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm used to that. Like whenever I do a show, I know that I've normally got 1 hour to get in and out, and I just go in with the kind of mindset of taking no prisoners.
Yeah.
And so, like, what I do on Twitch, I'm really rubbish at because I can't talk and I can't look at the chat and try to do it. It's so new to me still. I don't have a screen. Like, it's a very basic setup here at my place. And thank you to Decal for helping me set it up, because without him, I wouldn't be able to stream. And without Criztoz putting a fire at my butt to make me stream, there'd be no Twitch show.
There's no going back though. Once you once you're on the streaming, there is sort of no going back. But yeah, as Decal says, na bother. That's
Ni
a terrible,
bother, ni
ne
bother.
bother. Yeah, that's a terrible Scottish accent for me. And Soul Taker saying Twitch is the home of the true music lover. Yeah, that's a great
That
way of
is
putting
true. And Soul Taker is one of my moderators. Thank you, Soul Taker, for always
Yes.
holding me down. He's a good lad.
it. Yeah. Let's get back to the timeline. I know we keep
Yeah.
jumping on and back, but it's cool. Okay, so you're collecting records, you're buying stuff. When does it come a point that you actually decide to start DJing or get introduced to DJing?
I got introduced to DJing when I was dating a guy who was a house music DJ. And we were at a house party one night, and he'd showed me like little bits, like, it was like Jocelyn Brown and things like that. And he'd showed me how to mix, like beat match. And back then, with 12 inches, there was like a good kind of minute intro that you could use. And yeah, so one night we're at a party, and he's like, I've got to go to the toilet. You've got to mix in the next track. I've already got it lined up for you. So I had to like beat match it in, and I got it in, and the crowd was like, yeah, and like went crazy. And I was like, after that, I kind of got this like buzz from it. And I was like, oh shit, endorphins,
Yeah, yeah. It is.
Oops, first curse word.
Hold on. Let me try this. Did that work?
Are you trying to mute me?
No, I was trying to do a beep. I don't know if it's working or not.
Do a alarm. What do you call the bloody things?
Someone will tell us. I don't know. I thought I had it all set up. No sound on the beep. Oh.
So that was like house music, and then me and him got booked to play a lot of the gay clubs in Sydney.
Right.
And so that was the early 90s. And because we had to just play house and we're getting paid to play house, not hip hop, he's like, you can't buy hip hop on vinyl. And I was like, oh, for fire truck's sake, man.
Did that work?
Yeah. That work? Yeah. But I fire trucked it.
Svalansky was like, oh, well, he's going to have his beeper ready. And I was like, right, I know what I need to try and sort out. Anyway, right. So, yeah, go on. So
big ups to DJ Center.
Yeah. DJ Center, yeah. You can't buy vinyl.
So it wasn't like he wouldn't permit me to buy hip hop vinyl. He's like, no, you can get it on CD, but you can't buy any hip hop vinyl. You have to buy house. So I have like 2 crates over there of shit house music that I hate.
You should do. There you go. There's your next stream.
I did it one night. I did it. And you know what? I think I had like rigs in here, and they're like, you hate house music. I was like, I know. And so I think I did 6 records, and I was like, oh, I can't listen to any more of these. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
And then it was, I
Fair
picked
enough.
the wrong one. I was like, these ones used to mix together. Now they don't. Oh my God, what's happening? And so I just like, I think I got The Beloved Sun Rising, which used to actually mix, and I just flung it across the room.
But okay, so then you were stuck with the house vinyl, but at some point, did you get back onto the hip hop?
Yeah. So then I started working at HMV Records, which you guys had in the UK as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, yeah, you saw me fling it, Nikki. And then I worked at HMV, and maybe a lot of records made their way into my bag without being paid for, or they would be
Okay.
heavily discounted. And
Heavily
the guy
discounted.
heavily discounted, and then and then the guy that I was working with and ended up dating, his friend was a DJ from Melbourne, lived in Brisbane, moved to Sydney, and we started hanging out. And he showed me, like, he had all the ultimate breaks and beats. Amazing DJ Shan Frenzy. Big shout out, Shan Frenzy. I need you on Twitch, buddy. Get off the radio, do Twitch. But anyway, he showed me how to follow the leader, how to scratch. And the first time I was doing it, he's like, put your hand on the record. You've got to put your hand on the record. Where I'd come from a thing where you only touch the like inside of the record, like the label.
Right.
And
Okay.
he's like, put your hand on the platter. So we'd be like we'd play Follow the Leader until one of us just yelled out, new break. And so that was like 90, 95, 96. And then, yeah, he started playing drum and bass. We started going down the drum and bass realm for a little while, breakbeat, that kind of jazz. And then I started practicing really hard. And then 99, he's like, I think it's time for you to DJ hip hop outside. Like, let's do it. Let's get involved.
Right.
And so
And
I started DJing. We did our first live gig with a Melbourne MC called Brad Strutt, who's an insane lyricist. And they were heavily influenced by DRTC. So I was down with them for sure.
yeah, because you then got quite heavily involved in the Australian hip hop
Yes.
scene, didn't you? So take us through
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So I was like the first female hip hop DJ really in Australia. So DJ Chrissy was doing radio. She was the first female in the DMCs as well. She played disco.
Wow. In the
I
DMCs.
know. Yeah, in the DMCs.
Amazing.
She's the best. She lives up the road from me now. And I should get her down to stream actually. I've
Yeah.
had plenty of live gigs with her. But it was her show, Step Into the AM, that we used to swap the radio tapes of. And so they would come up from Melbourne to Sydney, the tapes. But yeah, so I started working at a record store. And I kind of use that as my platform to try to bring women up in the hip hop scene as well, because it was very, very much a patriarchal subculture and still is to some degree.
Yeah. I mean, we can pause and talk about that now. Is it getting better? Is it opening up more now than it used to be?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think there's still the percentage is about right. Like, there's always about 5% females, and 95% males. Like, you go to a gig and it's primarily a sausage fest.
Yes, and we try on here. I think with 45 Day, it's about 20% women DJs, and then about 80%. Considering we started at zero because when I first did it, I didn't really know many 45s DJs who are women.
Yeah.
So that's about where we've got to at the moment. I'd love it to be 50-50.
Yeah. It's
And
just not there.
we're trying with the kids. Because when we do
I
like the
know.
kids one, there's like 8 girls and 3 boys on one of the ones we did recently. So the interest is there. It's just whether it carries on and they do
I
it. I don't
know.
know.
Like, I feel like for me, when when I think I hit 30 and I was like, oh, I've got to retire. I don't want to DJ anymore. I don't
Right.
like, it's really weird. Like, as a woman in the music scene, men are allowed to grow old gracefully, whereas as a woman, DJ, MC, whatever, the media is always on you. They're like, oh, look what she's done to her hair. She's gotten fat. She's gotten skinny. She's got tattoos. Oh, she's looking different. She's had a haircut. Like, they're just always on about the way we look and not about our sounds.
And that must be hard, really.
It's
And for
super
you to
annoying.
say you might retire because of that,
Oh,
That
I
must
was
be
dead set. I
a
was
really
done. I was done
difficult
at
thing.
30.
So what did you
It was a
do?
wrap. Oh, I just kept going. I was just like, no photos. But then, of course, there was no one to hand the reins over to. Like, I didn't feel like there was anyone equivalent of my standard that I could hand the reins over to that was like A, underground, B, had skills, and had the kind of knowledge, really. And I guess for me, it's really clear that, I mean, I think you can think back to that viral clip where you've got that old grandma that's DJing and everyone's like, oh my God, look how amazing she is at 80, like deadly. But if it was a guy or Giles Peterson looking like that, they'd be like, nothing. He's just
Yeah.
got grey hair.
Yeah.
And so for me, I don't know, like even I don't like cameras. They make me really nervous. And so
So I'm sorry that I
stream
brought you on a show to with a camera at 8:30 in the morning.
I know it's like, but streaming is trying to make me go out of that comfort zone. Like I don't like to look back on any of the. I turn all the VODs off, and I actually
Well,
turned the VODs
you
on
turn the
once and
VODs
got
on, yeah,
once, and I got smashed with
yeah.
copyright the other
I
day.
know. You said that the other day we were on Coffee and Donuts. You're like, oh, I've just had 3 copyrights, and I was like,
Yeah,
switch the VODs off. Just
I
don't.
know.
I mean, it's talking of VODs. It's a very different world. Because I was looking back at some videos today, and when we first started on Twitch and we were doing the 45 Kings, at the end of every set, every guest, I had to quickly try and press the button to download it before it be muted by Twitch. And that's how I managed to
Ah,
gain all these videos sort of unmuted. Because back then, no one was recording on OBS. People didn't have their own channels. People were coming and streaming on that channel. It's a very different world. But now, turn your VODs off. Don't have your VODs off
yeah.
unless there's
Unless you're
no
going for
music. Yeah.
unless you go for partner, and they do require your VODs to be up for a certain amount of time.
Okay.
Not that I'm going for partner yet. Don't you worry about that.
No, it's interesting. You've brought that up because in the scene before when we had Svalansky and he was doing his set, the sort of question of partner and whatever, and he was talking about you cursing. And he started cursing a bit, and he was like, "Oh, I'm never going to make partner or whatever." And then he went on to say that he's not pushing for that because he doesn't want the pressure of what you have to achieve to become a partner. Rather, he quite enjoys the luxury of being an affiliate and sort of doing whatever you want really on Twitch, and that's part of it, isn't it?
I just want the money, yo. I'm unemployed.
Well, yeah, but then that's another reason. People do Twitch for lots of reasons, but for you, it does make a difference. And then obviously that you've got partner, and then you've got partner plus, and all the rest of it. But
I just see it as like I have I don't know, like I look at Twitch any social media platform like TikTok or Instagram, however it works, I like to um get out there and kind of figure out the mechanics behind it and really strategize it. So,
yes, it's a
when
game.
it's a game, exactly.
Of
So,
course, it's a game. It's a game.
when we had like Shima going for partner, Ali and I were kind of instrumental in helping him get to partner. So was Sweet Tooth. And I tried to get Cosmo partner. A few people that I know are going for partner still to this day. And it's just a way of like me going, how do the mechanics behind that machine work? And
Yeah,
I hit Instagram really well, built up a really good community of like 10,000 followers, just about frogs,
yeah,
for Frog Friday. But then I got hacked, so there was that.
yeah. That was gutting, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
pretty bad, and they
yeah.
took my DJ account as well. So it was kind of like
Oh,
I could have given you so many photos of like the past
yeah,
15 years, but didn't have. Yes, Chris Wheatley is the partner's number man, that's for sure. You speak to Chris and he'll be like, you need this.
yeah. It's hard though. I think I think certainly now because there's a lot more streamers, isn't there? And there's a lot more people up there.
There is, but like
Um,
I think all you need is a unique approach or a unique
yeah,
angle. And so mine would be that like I'm probably the only Indigenous streamer apart from Trials from Australia.
yeah.
That's playing. He's not playing vinyl. He's doing production streams. So I'd be the only Indigenous um, female streamer from Australia.
Yeah, and when I think it was Decal came on Coffee and Donuts talk show, we were talking about how, firstly, there isn't that many people in Australia watching the streams, and certainly there's not that many DJing. I mean, I know a few, but a lot have sort of dropped off, and they've just gone back to gigs or whatever, haven't they? Why
Yeah,
do you think that
Mafia.
is?
Well, Mafia was probably the strongest presence, and she's actually how I met Ali because we raided into Hot Dub Time Machine, and Ali was there, and I was like, "Hey," and she started chatting, and she's so friendly, and then Ali and I became like mods for other people, same people in other channels. But Yo Mafia can get like $10,000 a gig. Why would she bother with $100 of Twitch?
Yeah, yeah,
So it's like, but COVID really put a dampener on all of our gigs. Even when I had my first gig back after COVID, I was very nervous about cuddling people and going up to them. Then I was like, fire truck it. I'll just, it is what it is.
yeah, yeah. And that sort of brings us on to a couple of things. We've got various things that we're going to talk about, but one of them is gigs. Then, so before the sort of pandemic, tell us about some of the gigs that you were getting involved in.
Mainly 45 stuff. We had Platten, he came out here 15 years ago maybe, and we started the 45 sessions in Australia, in Sydney. And so we were running that pretty hard. We had Trish from Mobile Mondays came over and played there as well. She reciprocated that favour, and I played Mobile Mondays twice in New York. Got to hang out with Just Blaze. But before all that, I got to tour with Jean Grey in 2006 or 2007 for Rock the Bells. Night Mark.
Good night, Mark.
And so that was like a massive tour, a massive tour around America, where I was just stage DJing for her off CDJs or Serato. And we got flown, it was like a different city every night. And I was blessed because it was like with The Roots, Rage Against the Machine, Public Enemy, Black Star, Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah. Amazing.
And so that was my introduction to them. Like, and Wu-Tang, I was super like scrawny at the time and I had a T-shirt that said, "I slurp for Australia." And so Method Man be like, "All right then." Like, but so yeah, I stayed in Jean's back pocket for a while. And then before I left to go tour with her, I had my own radio shows as well on community radio. And her and I got very, very drunk one night. And we had the idea that we should call our ex-boyfriends and tell them why we left them. And sounds like a good idea at the time, right?
Yeah.
And then we got into the studio, and I wasn't able to patch into the studio to an external phone source. Like, so we didn't try testing it, nothing like that. We drank a bottle of so many bottles of champagne, and then her tour manager went and got us a bottle of Hennessy, and we must have drunk that Hennessy in half an hour.
Right.
And and just kept passing it around. I was so drunk. I left the mic on, like while the music was playing. It was her, it was me, her stage DJ wasn't blind, and her manager's up the back going, "And welcome to DJ Josie Styles' last ever radio show." And I'm like, "Whatever, man." And there was a lot of C-bombs dropped that show, I tell you. And of course, I said a few things I will not repeat on air. I do have a mini disc recording of that last final show.
Right.
But yeah, I
haven't got it here. I haven't got it here. It's
no.
No.
I basically got it. I got booted out of the studio. My pin got revoked, and I was told to never come back, like not within 20 meters of the radio station.
Right. Well, that's a way to go out.
I went out with. That's what I said to him. I was like, I'd rather go out with a bang with a band than a bang, and all this. Oh, it was just horrors. I was so horrors. And then I went into the studio a few years later, and they had my big promo poster up, and it's me holding a koala skull, and I was like, these motherfuckers are still using my name. Mr. Beep, to promote their show, to promote their radio station. So I covered up the cameras and ripped off the picture off the wall and took it down and took it around and got photos of people in Chinatown of it.
Amazing.
Anyway.
Okay, so that was the end of your radio show.
That was the end of my radio show, but
Yeah.
I did the Triple J hip hop show for a couple of years, 2000 and I want to say 2005 maybe,
Yeah.
and that was great. That was probably my best platform. I'd go in and I'd start with 5 records of the week with the host, and then she was like, "Oh my gosh, you actually know about hip hop, and it's so good having someone that knows," because she was from a dance music background, and so I ended up just co-hosting with her for a few years.
Amazing. Amazing.
That show's still going today. It's had many different hosts since then, but it was our first national hip hop show in Australia. We didn't have one. It's a very white country, very colonised by the English. And thank you, Hugh Mob. And and then, yeah, I guess I was just more of working in the record store gave me that platform to be able to go to do the national show. So it gave me like
Yeah.
a bit of a reputation, bit of credit, street cred. I was DJing at every show. Anyone who passed through town, I would be at the show
Yeah.
being the warm-up DJ or their stage DJ.
Yeah. And then you're meeting everyone that's coming through and you're making those
Correct.
connections and the networking.
Correct.
And obviously you can then potentially call them in for whatever mixes and some of these mixes.
Oh, look. Yeah, even a bed. Like, there's a rapper in Australia called Suffer from the Hilltop Hoods, and his line was, "Thanks to hip hop, I've got a bed in every state." And it's true.
And it's something that we've been able to sort of generate through music as well, isn't it? And it's something that I would always recommend to people to get into music, because you do know, I mean, we're going to Hamburg. You're coming to Hamburg, in July. I mean, that's
better put me on that bill, motherfucker.
Yeah. You're too quick for me. But yeah, we will put you on that bill. I'm hoping that you could get on this other bill, because I saw some comments today about that you're heading to Sydney, to Melbourne, aren't you, to see Coco?
I am, yes, that's correct.
Okay. We've talked about Coco before. I was lucky enough to see him last year in April. Have you seen him before?
No, not live.
Okay. What is it about him that is making you travel to another city to go and see him?
Well, he's not playing any other city in Australia.
There's a few other bits, isn't he? Isn't he playing Womack?
Australia. Oh, yeah, but that's Adelaide, man. That's miles away.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so Melbourne's close. Melbourne's closer. I've got friends there. I can stay with them for free. And then our friend Mr. Lob has lined up a show the next day with all of the 45 guys from around Australia who have flown in, and he's willing to give up his set for me.
Cool. That's good. I mean, it would be great, like you were saying earlier, it shouldn't be a sausage fest. There should be space. Sausage fest.
There was no women on the lineup. I was like, "Hey, where are the 45 queens in this?" And he's like, "We'll get a ticket." And I was like, "Got a ticket, let's go."
Okay, so are you confirmed? Are you on the lineup?
He's like, "Oh, I can put you on at 6:30 p.m. at the pizzeria."
Okay.
And I was like, well, that's not technically part of the day, but I know when I get there, Shan, my boy, will probably be, because everyone's only got 30 minutes, or the DJs only have 30 minutes, because he's like, there's over 400 DJs. I was like, I just counted 10.
Keep pushing. Never give up. Never give up.
No, never. Do I ever give up? Come on, man.
Keep pushing. Keep pushing.
Do you know me?
But yeah, I mean, but they, if they gave up 5 minutes of their set each, that's your set. There you go.
Exactly.
They only need 6 of them to give up 5 minutes, and then they've got. So let's hope it happens.
Yeah, I'll take a box of 45s anyway, as I always do.
Yeah, definitely. Right. So you've described how there was lots of amazing gigs. You're touring. You're going to the States. And does that then all sort of come to a crashing halt when sort of COVID kicks in?
Not really, because I was working full time as a wildlife biologist, and that took a lot of my time away anyway. So I'd spent a lot of time in the field. Pre-COVID, I was away for 3 years in the desert doing stuff, and most amazing country, beautiful country. Imagine like beautiful red sand dunes and beautiful blue skies and just the best animals. Like, I was living my best life. That wasn't when I got kicked by the Roo. That was a different time. I only got kicked by the Roo 2 years ago, but anyway, we'll get to that. So I just chose I was selective on our gigs, but also COVID didn't affect us as badly as the Sydney lockouts did. So our what do you call them, mayors at the time, Sydney mayors, they decided that the best course of action to combat alcohol influenced violence would be to have lockout laws in Sydney that were untrialled. Apart from in Newcastle, there was no statistical evidence to show that it worked. And they basically shut down all of our nightclubs, all of the strip clubs, and pushed everyone towards the casino. And the casino didn't have to report any incidences because it's outside of the lockout zone.
Right. Okay. So you're pushing the problem to somewhere else, and then you're not recording that it still is a problem.
Correct. So the data's already skewed. Do you know what I mean? So we actually lost our venues around 2015, 16. So it was really depressing. It was like, do I really have to play on another bowling green? Like, is that what we're reduced to?
Yeah.
Like, we used to have the best nights. Like, you could go out and party till 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, have a lock-in, that shit's gone.
Must be really difficult.
It was heartbreaking, to be honest.
It must have changed the whole landscape of going out. Because, like you say, people are used to going out till 3, 4, and then suddenly they're being told, no, you have to cut your fun.
Or you have to cut the night at midnight. So, everyone just sort of starts getting a little bit loose around 11 o'clock and everyone's getting a little bit liquored up and you're like, all right, it's time to play the tunes. And everyone the prime time set used to be 2 to 3 a.m. And now it was 7 p.m. And it's like, oh my God, who goes out? We would still be getting ready at 10 p.m. back in the day.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and obviously the weather's different, and you're going out later, and it's sort of a bit more outdoor, isn't it?
Well, no, it was all indoor, filthy, disgusting clubs, and I loved it.
Okay.
And now it's
like wrong idea of Australia.
You totally do. It's like Melbourne. Melbourne is all like seedy, dirty, sticky floor. You got your brand new Air Maxes on, and you're sticking to the floor, and you're like, so gross.
Yeah, amazing.
But I love it. But yeah, I guess for me, just quickly back to the hip hop thing. Working in the record store, I was the only female working in the record store. I was also a music journalist. So I would be exactly right, Chris. So I would be writing for 5 different street presses, doing reviews, doing interviews with artists. I fell into that by default. My first interview was with Blackalicious.
Amazing.
My mate couldn't do it, and he's like, "Oh, can you interview Blackalicious tomorrow?" I was like, "I've never interviewed anyone."
Right.
And so I set up all night researching them, and Chief XL was like, "These are fantastic questions.
Wow,
these are amazing." And then I got them so high. And then we went and took a ferry around Sydney Harbour, and it was a bit rattling because Gift of Gab was in a wheelchair because of the flight on the way over. His diabetes, his legs had blown up and he couldn't walk, so he was in a wheelchair. So we had to adjust our plans accordingly. But we got him on a ferry, took him over to Luna Park and got some great shots. But yeah, so I kind of started doing music journalism and I've always been my own publicist. And so I started doing publicity for small companies and then a larger company. And then, of course, working at the record store one day, a rapper came in and he's like, and I knew him, and he's like, "Hey, I work for Warner Music, and they want to do an Australian hip hop compilation on a major label, and they want to get this R&B DJ to do it." And I was like, over my fucking dead body. And so I went in and met with Warner.
Yeah.
Did all of it for free, and as a result, we got.
Yeah, and we have
Straight For Me Out Volume 1.
So you've got the thing there. I've got the artwork there from.
Oh, there you go. Brilliant.
See, but let's see the record. Obviously, it's all about the record. Yeah. So tell us how you've explained how that came about. How did you decide on what artists would be on it?
I basically just reached out to everyone and was like, yo, Warner's asked me to do this. Let's do it. And so I had. I'm looking at my CDs, but they're not there. I had this many CDs, and they basically, I had to go through every CD and find what would work the best. And also, we weren't paying the artist, so I had to be like, "Oh, can I really get these guys for free?" Shawnee T from the UK, he's on one of the tracks on the first album called The Days of Herb. That's a banger. The artwork was done by my friend Jason. That's just a photo. And that one as well in the back. That's a photo of our friend Code DJing from a night that we had at like a New Year's Eve night. That's the back.
Let me hold on. Let me get that soloed out. There we go. Yeah, and there you go. You can see all the artists as well.
And so that was good. That was great. So that album, we did 5,000 CDs and 500 vinyl copies,
right?
And sold out. And Warner was like, "Oh my god, that was amazing!" And then I was here in Australia to promote that though, and being the kind of self publicist promoter that I am, I was in like all the street press and doing stuff. So then it came time for Volume 2 in 2004.
Which we have another
and
photo here.
Yeah.
There you go. Warning: strong impact, coarse language, and or themes. I should have put that on at the beginning of the show.
Sounds like me. And then this is the test press vinyl. So
okay,
this is one of the most probably, I don't know, rarest. There's only 2 copies of this.
Oh, look at
in
that
Australia.
colour as well, though.
Yeah, so it's like marbled acetate.
Wow. Beautiful.
And our man's, if I think it's on this one. Oh no, it's on. I thought it's on the A side. Yeah, the A side. The A side is A Love and Evil Ed, and they're track captains of the industry.
Yes, I love that song.
I know. So that's my best friend from Melbourne rapping. She's incredible.
Yeah, because
it also made it to Ed's. It's on Ed's album as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I know Evil Ed and I've listened to that a lot. And then she's talking about being from Melbourne and having a cup of tea at Ed's house and stuff.
Yeah,
the place
I hooked that up for them. Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. So talk about the sort of UK link up as well, because obviously you talk a lot about Mr. Thing. So how did you sort of get in contact with him? How did that sort of come about?
Well, that's an interesting question. So pre Mr. Thing, we were listening to things like people like Demon Boys and London Posse. Memory blanks now. All the hardcore kind of shit, that was coming out in the late 80s, I want to say. Early 90s, and that really influenced what was coming out in Australia, because we had 2 sounds coming out of Australia, one with sort of a quasi-American accent, and one guy's from Sydney that were just kind of really leaning into that UK influence and doing that double time rapping. And I became more of a fan of the Melbourne DITC sound, and I got a little bit of shite from people in Sydney, because they were like, "You're such a Sydney hip hop hater." Anyway, so then fast forward to probably early 2000s, maybe, when Roots Maneuvers first album came out. I used to use my tax return of like $1,000 to purchase UK. Yeah, there you go, Andre. Yeah, so 99, exactly. So, well, that was because I had radio, probably, and I was doing radio. So get but anyway, Andre knows. Basically, I would spend my tax return to import records. So I would buy records from people like Andre. Disorder was really good to me, and then I would bring them into the record store and sell them on consignment.
Right.
And then once I got really a big tax return, I had to get like a massive box to like get Disorder to send over. But I basically introduced Australia to UK hip hop in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, mid 2000s.
So you're importing these records, obviously, from the UK.
Yeah.
Were you at that time able to sort of get an idea of what was on them, or were you simply told, we've got this act, we've got this act, we've got these?
No, I knew everyone. It was like just the internet was kind of just starting. So it was like over email. I knew of people's radio shows. So radio shows were a thing. But obviously Mr. Thing toured here in 1999, and the guy that I was living with happened to have gone to high school with him.
Right. Okay.
And he's like, just go up and say blah to Mr. Thing. And so I went up and I went blah to Mr. Thing. And he went, how the fuck did you know that?
I'll stop. I'm going to give up. Anyway, right, go
And
on.
I was like, oh, because I live with Devise, and not Devise the rapper, but Devise. And he's like, holy shit, no way. Moin moin, Mixer. And anyway, me and Mr. Thing went to the Powerhouse Museum to see the Star Wars exhibition. We're just like kindred spirits, really. And he's been my number one homeboy since 1999. We speak pretty much every day on WhatsApp. Used to be Snapchat, phone, whatever, every day.
Amazing, amazing. And
He
it must
still owes
be
me. He still owes me a box of records, though, the bastard.
okay. Well, next time he comes to Australia, or next time you come here.
Yeah, I haven't been to the UK since 2004. Like I did a massive tour in 2004. Played London with Jest. Then I went to Leeds. Did a massive show with Leeds with like Black Twang. Obviously Young Gun, SR. Oh shit. Kalashnikov. Oh my god, Kalashnikov.
Yeah,
Thought
yeah.
it was hilarious. I was just running around taking selfies on my like little camera with everyone. I was like, yo, what the rascal? And they were just so lovely. They were like, who is this crazy bitch? I was like, just drinking all their rider, like hammered.
Amazing, amazing. And it must be great now to sort of, like you say, still have that connection, but then
Yeah.
get to see him sort of live streaming as well. You know, now he's doing sort of Think Thursdays. You know, it must be great to
I'm
be
his
able to
bloody
sort of tune
mod.
into that. Well, exactly, but it must be great.
I made him do it. God, I don't know if it's great. No, it's awesome. It's really great that people in America can see what he's doing
Yeah,
and throwing down because he is the best DJ in the world, to be honest.
yeah. He's definitely, definitely up there. He's won a few awards as well,
Oh, he
uh,
certainly has.
which
I've
is
seen those
which is good.
awards.
And it's great. And coming back to sort of the pandemic, you know, if it hadn't been for the pandemic, we wouldn't probably be here. We probably wouldn't be having these conversations. So, did it change your sort of life in terms of? Let's do the music element first. When did you first find Twitch, and did that then change your sort of way that you consumed music?
I didn't come across Twitch until I think it was February 2020 or 21. Maybe might have been 21. Because you guys had already been streaming for maybe a good year.
Yeah, I mean, I think we started probably July 2020. I think
Yeah,
is
so
when we
I don't think I came on
about
board.
then. Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't come on board till 21 because, as you put forth before, no one in Australia was listening to Twitch. Like, no one knows what it's about. Like,
yeah,
and all we were doing was watching the lockdown sessions with D Nice and Questlove.
okay, yeah,
And so I was working from home, but also out in the field a lot. COVID didn't stop us at all with work. We just had to keep going. We had exemptions to keep to work in the field.
yeah,
And then I remember being at home. I think it was definitely February 2021. If Ali came on in September, so February 21, and I got a message or Instagram thing from Mark Brand, and it was like, "Oh, Private Stock Radio is showing Cosmo Baker." This week on Twitch, and I was like, what the fuck is Twitch? And so I joined up because Cosmo and I met in 2011 in New York at a show that he was playing at, and I was there with it was Black Thought's birthday actually at the Brooklyn Bowl.
wow,
And I was there with Boogie Blind and Farrah Munch and Talib Kweli, of course, because they're my boys. And Cosmo was playing like the sickest set, like SOS Band, just playing all my jams, Tina Marie. Like I was like, oh my God, fuck, who is this guy? And he's playing all on vinyl. And I walked up and I was like, you're a fucking sick DJ. You're a fucking sick cunt, mate. And anyway, he turned to the boys and they're like, can you get security to get this girl out of here? Like, who is this girl? Get her the fuck away from me. And I was full horrors. And they're like, yo, that's our girlfriend, DJ Josie Styles from Australia. You leave her the fuck alone, man. And so ever since then, me and him have been tight. Like,
yeah,
I'm sure he doesn't remember that night, but he reckons he does. Probably lies.
right, okay.
But yeah, so I've kept in touch with him. And then seeing him doing his thing on Twitch, I was like, oh my God, it's Cosmo. And I was like, oh my God. And then Mark Brand gifted me a sub to Private Stock Radios. And I was like, what does that mean? What
Yeah.
does mean? What does gifting a sub mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand. So I had to Google it, and I Googled it, and I was like, oh, right. And then I was hooked. It was a wrap, an absolute wrap.
Yeah, because I remember when we did the 45 Kings 24-hour special, the first thing we didn't really know what we were doing on Twitch. We basically just gave people stream keys. We had 25 DJs from around the world. Somehow it worked, and we did it. Like Rob doing 12 hours in Australia, me doing 12 hours here. And then people were coming through going, why have you guys not got subs switched on? And we're like, what are you talking about? What's a sub? We just didn't have an idea. But I think we managed to make affiliate just off the back of that
Yes,
one stream somehow.
probably
And we were
12
like,
hours.
what's going on? It was crazy. And then, yeah, here we are, So that was
So
your
yeah,
introduction.
that was my introduction to Twitch, and then I think
And you got
it was
hooked because of obviously could you see the sort of game element in it? Is that, with the
oh, I
subbing
just
and the
could
sort of,
see, yeah, I could see the mind games in it, and I could see like there's a slight gambling element to it, if you will.
okay.
The purpose of the hype train is to kind of push people at a certain point to cheer and to sub at that point, which if you're of a certain type of mindset like I am, if I had money, I want to see that hype train get to level 5.
Yeah.
And when people were living at home and they weren't going out and spending money, of course you're going to tip your DJ.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
and it was very different back then, wasn't it? Because
totally.
you weren't going out anywhere. Well,
You
most
weren't
people
going
aren't.
anywhere.
You weren't spending your money in a nightclub
Clubs,
or
exactly. And
and
I
then
could I could use that as a
yeah,
mod. I could use that as a, hey, well, you're not spending any money, mofos, like drop it here.
yeah, yeah,
Pay the DJ.
and obviously that was then. Things have obviously changed now. How do you see that sort of element of it now?
It's definitely harder. Like, I've spoken to obviously a lot of partners and people that I mod for, and they're definitely noticing the lack of funds that people can contribute. I'm always, there's also the really high cost of living in Australia, potentially worldwide.
Yeah,
There's lots more other things going on in the world. The fundraiser things kind of go well. And the raid trains kind of work in a way like, let's say, Soul Train, in the terms of you get big raid and people may not know you. Yeah, advocate, exactly.
yeah.
Me and Addie went head to head one night in Epic Show because it was the first time you could get above a level 5 hype train, and we wanted to see how high it would go. I think we got it to level 21, maybe.
Insane.
Yeah, we were just going crazy. Yes, you've got to retire, Soul Taker. No more. You've done
Yeah,
enough. He Soul Taker pretty much held down every DJ
yeah.
during the pandy, like 100%.
Oh, and definitely, people were just so supportive, weren't they?
Yeah,
And as I was speaking to other people. It's just the generosity of viewers, isn't it? It's a thing that it's great to be able to gift something and show the love. But yeah, time things change. Things don't stay the same forever, and obviously it just moves into a slightly different direction. Right, let's bring it back a little bit. When we first discussed doing the show, we sort of talked about what topics would be interesting to talk about, and one of the things you said is you'd like to talk about menopause. Um, so let's sort of talk about that.
depends on how the boys feel about that.
Well, no, look. I think it's an important discussion to have. It's something that we haven't talked about on this show, or indeed on any of my talk shows. And we've already talked about how things are quite male centric. So it's only right that we hear a perspective about things that we don't really know anything about. So
Yeah, I guess
yeah,
I went to how that came about is I went to a gig the other week in Sydney, IRL, and anyone go TK.
TK's got the popcorn out.
Like, I'm 50 this year, and I guess I've been perimenopausal, which is when you're in the not quite menopausal situation, so your periods haven't stopped. And you might suffer from some effects like sweats or hot flushes, things like that. I don't suffer from any of that. It can change your mood, you can get brain fog, you can all sorts of things. But when I was down in Sydney and I was DJing, all of my girlfriends are all like in their 50s. They all must be going through menopause right now. They're all like, oh my God, like just fully losing their minds. And then they start talking about the estrogen patches and all of this. And I'm like, well, maybe because I'm on so much CBD and THC, I don't feel it.
Interesting. Okay.
So yeah, like I don't know if I've been, self-medicated that way. But then, of course, I hadn't had my period since November. Definitely not pregnant because I don't fuck guys in this country. So I was like, shit, what's going on? And then yes, Sunday I woke up. I was like, I just got my fucking period. Oh my god. And so yesterday when I was streaming, I was like, it was a bloodbath. True God.
Oh God.
So anyway, I was like horrors, but like it was a war zone, and you can't really go. Oh, excuse me, guys, I've just got to go change my plug. I'll be right back. Like so with guys, you guys can just get up and do stream and be like, wear a shirt, do something. But women, we've got to like do our hair, do our makeup. If you want to look any sort of kind of way. So that's why I'm always late for my streams.
Well, we made it on time for today.
It's a miracle.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about that before being a pressure as to the media and that, and is that still? Do you still feel that as pressure now?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. My friends, even my girlfriends, are like, "Oh, you wore that shirt like 3 days ago."
Right.
And I'm like, fuck, I've only got so much Sam Tweaks merchandise and so much 45 day. Yes, Captain K, exactly. That's what we were saying before, like trying to look young, Captain K, when, Mikey is allowed to grow, that's her partner, is allowed to grow old gracefully in front of the mic. Norman J, you know what I mean? Like all those guys, they're allowed to be 100 years old in front of the screens. No one gives a shit. But if you get up there as a woman who's like older, they're like, what's this old bag doing?
It's terrible that it's still.
It's such a double standard. Seriously,
Now,
it's still happening.
Do you think this is a generational thing, and do you think the kids coming through now might be slightly different, or do you think it's always going to be an issue?
No, it's media. It's always going to be the same. As far as I'm concerned, I think it'll always be the same. And as a woman, you either. I feel as you're under a bit more pressure to show your skills. Like I definitely don't show any of my skills on Twitch because there's just too much going on for me. I'm just like not used to microphones and cameras and screens. In real life, I can do shit.
Yeah.
But for me, it was very important to me coming up as a hip hop DJ in the scene. I didn't want to be one of those girls that was known for sucking cock to get to where she had to go. Which a lot of the girl MCs had to do.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to get by my skills. So, things like DJ Pearly and those girls are like killing it. But at some point when she gets older, they'll start to be like, oh, look at the color. Oh, she's got grays in her hair, or oh, she's going through menopause now. Like that it's just the way society is.
Yeah. And as Tea Cake says, it's going to take decades.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like menopause isn't talked about at all. See you, Cosmo. Yeah, like it's not talked about in the workplace. It's not talked about anywhere. But was applying for jobs up here and even before, and I was like, am I not getting these jobs because of my age? And they're thinking, oh, like I've only got 10 years to retirement. I'm older. I've got more skills than the young kids coming through, but I cost more because of my experience. And yeah, I just found that a bit. And then I've got started to go, shit, maybe it's because they think that I've got going through the menopause. And so, all you ladies out there that might be going through the change, me and my girlfriend CJ like to call it MOP, so menopause, and then you can just ante up.
Yeah, and that's the hip hop connection coming straight. Okay, and as Ali is saying, in Western society, menopause and women aging is just shoved aside. Mm-hmm. Is it just a case of you being made to feel that you're not needed, not wanted anymore, and that there's a younger
version? Oh, absolutely. They're younger and cheaper, you know what I mean? And they'll be around longer. And I started talking to my mom about it, and she's like, oh, no, oh, you'll be right. And I was like, no, it's a thing. It's like a real thing.
Well, I mean, one of a kind saying that Davina McCall changed things out here in the UK. I think it's probably a little bit more of a conversation happening. But you're obviously talking about your experiences in Australia. I mean, do you think that is ever going to change, or is it such a patriarchal society that it's just going to be the same forever?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I think that my circle of friends talk about it more. So and a lot of some of the like TV people, personnel are talking about it a bit more. They're all like, "Oh my god, I'm just having my own private summer" or something like that. But yeah, we're in a very colonialist society here, and as Ali says, it is patriarchal. It should be matriarchal, like it was in my ancestors' days. But yeah, it's just really not talked about. But yeah, we do have better record collections, Kelly,
Yes.
than the young ones. And I did raise that with Cosmo Baker. Actually, he had to do a set in New York last night, and he was up with the young kids. And I said, just drop samples. That none of the young kids are going to have the samples that you've got, like for Dilla. But
Yeah, and you played a
yeah,
brilliant
no.
Dilla sort of set on Coffee and Donuts just
Oh,
gone.
thanks. I did a
That was
better
great.
one the week before, but forgot to play Soul Supreme.
Yeah.
So I was like, I have to rectify that. That's why I kicked off with the
uh,
Dilla.
One of a kind's got a question. Is Oz more male centric as well?
100% always has been. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to break through. Like now there's 3 or 4 female DJs that I know of.
Okay.
Yo Mafia is one of them. DJ D is the other one.
Yeah.
DJ D's got skills. She would probably be getting close to being perimenopausal. Sorry, D. Um, and
It's been interesting with Dee because obviously she's been on the show and sorry, go on. Who's the last one before? And then
oh, there's like just a couple of Sydney ones, couple of Melbourne ones. They're a bit younger though, but good record collectors. So yeah, I feel like I can hand the reins over to them now. But then also I'm like, well, actually, I do have some fucking good records. I do want to play them out.
yeah, and why should you have to stop because you've got to a certain age or you've got to a certain point in your life? You know, there's no reason for that. And obviously, we as men, I think that well, as long as I can stand up and play records, I'm still going to be playing records somewhere. And I don't think we get that. I'm sort of not far off your age, but obviously being a man and a woman, the pressures are just completely different.
Completely different.
I'm not sadly getting up every time I'm going in front of the stream thinking, oh, I've got to do my hair or I've got to do that because it's just not something that's expected of me and something I don't have to do. So it's a lot more pressure and respect to anyone who gets in front of a camera, but especially women who have this extra pressure piled onto them. I mean, it must be quite difficult. And Ali says privilege. Yeah, I mean, it's I can't get away from it. It is. It's
White
definitely
male,
my
well, not just
privilege.
white male, but male privilege.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like I mean, I could get up and get in front of the camera with no makeup on or no face, but you probably wouldn't see my face.
Yeah, but
And
then we've got streamers who just do hands. There's certain streamers
exactly,
who won't
yeah,
show their face because they're just
yep,
like, this is what I
yep.
want to do. But now you're on Twitch more. How have you found the community? Have you found it to be like it is? I say the real world, but in like the sort of outside culture, or do you find it's a bit more accepting on Twitch, or how do you find it
For which?
for DJing now and sort of live streaming? Do you find Twitch and the community a bit
Oh,
more
more
open?
accepting. Yeah, I think so. Salvi, DJ BLBH. I
Oh,
was just
DJ Bill.
thinking about you. I haven't seen you live for a minute, Bill. Hope you're okay.
He's coming to the UK, I think, end of
Uh
May. So hopefully we're going to meet up at some point. We
word.
will
Yeah,
see.
I just thought about him this morning. I was like, I haven't seen DJ Bill BH live. I feel like the Twitch community is such a beautiful community. And I think as long as the music's good, people are happy, and there's some really amazing streamers out there, really amazing DJs, which means they'd be even more incredible in real life because there's not so much to focus on.
Yeah.
You just get to DJ, and I've always loved playing music for people. Even when I did radio, that's why I guess I did radio. Got to interview mad people like Amp Fiddler, rest in peace. And heaps of them. Anyone that passed through town came to my show.
Yeah. Yeah.
before I got banned with Jean Grey.
But it's has it been nice finding this online community?
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. Like they're you guys are my family, you know. I know that
and it is
I
though.
can it is. It's like I said before, you know, like Suffer said, thanks to hip hop, I've got bed in every state. I'm like, I know that I can come and see you guys. I can go to Sacramento and see Vinyl Honey. I can go to Sac and see Epic and Shima, and I can go to New York, or I can go to New York anyway, but I can go to Philly now and stay with Cosmo's mom or whatever. Like, you know, it's just a bit more. It's a family affair.
It is, and it's been amazing to see it sort of grow. Um, and do you find that that gives you the freedom to sort of talk about things on your stream? For example, we're talking about sort of menopause and what you're going through, and you also talk about Australia quite a lot. You know, you talk about the sort of politics of it. So, do you think it's given you that ability and that new platform that you maybe had when you were doing radio shows, but to sort of channel that in a different direction?
Nah, I don't feel like I don't want to. I try not to talk too much on my streams because the Americans don't understand my accent.
Right.
So I kind of just mumble some shit into the microphone. But I try to hold back from having like I'm not a Don Champ sound dialogue situation.
Right. Okay.
And
And
also I've got a handheld mic, so it makes it really hard to mix and do shit while you got a handheld mic.
yeah, I think Nick there is
Exactly,
joking.
Nikki. What do you reckon? How's she want to go? And
Yeah.
then if I start talking like blackfella way, it gets even worse. People are like, what the actual is she
Yeah.
saying?
It's great to have DJ Babs here from Toronto. She's talking about Twitch in 45 days, especially opened my world, introduced me to so many wonderful DJs and validated my experience as well. And that's the thing, isn't it? Every time you go on Twitch, you meet new people, don't you? There's
Yeah.
always someone new. There's always a new follower, someone who's maybe lurked for a bit and hasn't said anything, and then they come out and you sort of meet, and it's great, isn't it? At our slightly older age, to sort of be meeting friends and making connections on almost a daily basis.
Oh, absolutely. That part of it is priceless, right? And I guess for me, the biggest thing is having people like really good record collectors, like or people humans like Bus Crates, Applejack, DJ Center, and those guys coming in and being like, "Holy shit, Josie's got deep crates," and I'm like, "Yeah, motherfucker!" Like I don't front. But I did say, like the struggle for me is I sold 19 boxes of records when I was moving house in 2018, and I am missing a lot of my collection again. So I remember dating this UK boy in 2000, and my record collection wasn't that big then, maybe 5,000, 3,000 records. And he was like, "Your collection is nothing but a series of gaps."
Right?
And I was like,
What? Right.
so now I'm like, oh well, let's go to my series of gaps that I have again because I've sold 19 boxes. Like, for instance, the other day I was like doing the dealer show. I was actually prepped for once for the dealer set, and I was like, where are my Erykah Badu albums? And I'd sold somehow the first two Erykah Badu albums, and
Yeah.
then the other show I played a Melanie track, and I went to find the Hilltop Hoods track, Hilltop Hoods album, which is 20 years old this year and was very influential in the Australian hip hop scene. And I think I sold that.
Well, records sort of come and go, don't they? You know.
I mean, they do.
Yeah, and they might come back, or they might, you might rebuy them. Um,
But I
now,
guess for me, the thing is that having like good selectors and good producers coming in and saying that I've got good taste in music is really what makes me happy.
definitely, definitely, and it above all, it is music. Obviously, skills are important, in certain situations, and obviously being able to mix and blend and whatever. But what I love the most is that we've got the grand scheme of like people who are turntablists, they're gigging
Mm-hmm.
DJs, they're award-winning DJs. You've got then the other end, which is just people in their bedroom playing
Yeah.
records. They might not even mix. Just selectors, and it's great that we have all of these people being able to express themselves in music, and that's what we're doing, isn't it?
Yeah. I rarely mix. on Twitch because I'm just like trying to concentrate in the chat. But when I go digital, I think that'll be different. It's a bit easier. But trying to mix 40, I don't know how, I really don't know how. Sam Tweaks, hats off to that man, that mother
Yes.
trucker. He can just like bounce on the spot, read the chat, and the chat, his chat, as his mod, that chat moves very fast,
It
you
does move.
know.
I don't know how he keeps up with that. It's
He keeps up with the chat. I don't know if he can slow it down his end, but man, that and he mixes like, I mean, if I BPM'd my records, that might be a good start.
well, that helps, but I do that to some of my records. But one of the reasons I got into 45s was I found myself when I was doing digital sets, I was basically DJing on sort of tempo. So the next track, I was like, oh, that's a similar tempo. I like that track. It might go. Whereas now, I don't care what tempo it is. If I think it sort of blends in and it goes well, it's what's coming next, and that's what I love about it.
Transitions matter.
Yeah, exactly. And let's talk about 45s. We haven't really yet mentioned them. And it's obviously what brought us sort of together. Talk about 45s then. Obviously, you've talked about buying them a long time ago.
Yeah,
But are they still a big thing at the moment for you? And
absolutely. I'm
why do
always checking for
you
45s.
why do you love them?
I think for me, it's the preferred format. Like, I just love the feel of them. I love the portability of them. So, you know, you can carry a box of 100, 120 around, and it's heavy, but not that heavy. Um, and I don't know, like I've got old, I've got new. I like to mix it all up in between. But if you put 120, you know, this size vinyls into a bag, you ain't carrying
Yes.
that shit nowhere.
No.
So I think for me, it's the ability just to, I don't know, gosh, because I've been doing 45s like as a 45s DJ now for ages, like at least 15 years.
And how have you seen the scene change in that time? Because obviously back then there was a few DJs pushing the format, and obviously now there's a lot more. Maybe there
Yeah.
isn't. Maybe it's just we're just
No,
aware of it.
there's definitely more.
Um,
45s have gone up in price.
yeah, they definitely have.
But we've got represses, so that's good. So things that I wasn't able to get before become available as represses. We've got amazing people like Jim Sharp that are doing great edits,
Yep.
which, you know, then you can play, you know, I don't know. I think just it's real DJs know it's a good format. It's a good sounding format, apart from Joe Rum Bombay's presses.
They're a little bit quiet in places.
They're a little bit quiet.
You'd have to turn the gain up. I think
Oh, the whole way.
the more recent ones seem to be better.
I know,
I
but
think
go
the
back
ones
to the
on,
old ones. It's
yeah,
like, but yeah, no, like it's it's always just been the way for me. I think maybe because of I used to play all like the dance hall clashes and stuff like that. So I've got my little old dance hall jobbies.
yeah.
So I think it probably started with dance hall, but I've got so much. But yeah, I had so much UK hip hop on 45. Even Australian stuff was playing. I was pressing on 45 as well. And yeah, I just collected heaps of 45s. And then obviously I've got my dad's collection, but I always had funk and soul 45s. And there was a crew of us in Sydney that were running 45s.
Shotgun Shima saying Josie loves to play house music.
Fuck you, Shima.
We had this conversation a little bit earlier, Todd.
You missed the conversation, Toddy. I love you.
He's been on the show as well. That was fun.
Was it fun though?
Uh, yeah.
Or is he off milking his rares?
He's not on Twitch so much these days, isn't he? He
I
was
know.
on
I
quite
just sent him a
regularly.
text. I sent him a text and said, "I miss your face." He does like
Yeah.
Soul Train, but he's very busy working.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, of course. And I think obviously
and
we've moved on, haven't we? Again, we were talking about the pandemic. It's sort of moved on.
we have, and his job's very important. So,
Yeah,
you know, I really respect him for that, and I just love his music. And so maybe drop some mixtapes, motherfucker.
yeah. The mixtapes, maybe that would be good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Talking of mixtapes, you did a 45-day mix, and got back into sort of doing some mixing stuff. So how was that? Sort
That
of,
was so liberating, Criztoz, and I thank you so much for that. Like, I hadn't done a mixtape since probably 2002.
That's crazy. That is
Like I just hadn't
crazy.
done it. I was just like, I never recorded myself. Oh, I used to record my DJ sets. And then I used to torture myself. Oh my God, I used to torture myself with my radio shows. I'd like press on the mini disc or the tape, and then I'd go back and I'd listen to my voice, and I'm like, oh my God, why? Why am I doing this to myself?
Yeah.
It's just torture. It's so torturous. And so I hadn't done a mixtape, and also I'd moved house a lot. So in the I think when did I do it last year? I'd moved house about 12 times since then.
Wow. That's
So
a lot of times to move the records.
including interstate as well.
Yeah.
Tasmania, which is a whole separate continent essentially.
Yeah.
And all my records were boxed up in my house, but my 45s were always accessible.
Okay.
And so I had my regular bag of 45s for gigs, and then I had some in a box. And so I was like, oh, okay, I need to do this mix for 45 day. And so I did that one for 45 day. And I had to speak to someone about, because my Rain 57 mixer wouldn't talk to my Mac through Serato anymore. So I spoke to all my mates on Facebook, all my producer mates, and they just I just got like a little sound card thing to be able to record that first 45 set. And then I did a Moving It 45 mix, Soul Sisters one, and now I owe you a 33-day mix.
A 33-day mix, and then obviously a 45-day mix for this year as well coming up. I'll be
Absolutely.
launching that. But you also played one of my first dance, Sunny by James Brown.
Yes.
It was the first dance me and my wife had, and that was your opening record. I was like, okay, right, I'm in love with this mix already. That was, and you played it on Get It Covered. Got It Covered.
I did. I have a lot of cover music. Gosh, I've got so many covers. Why is that?
I think that's part of being a 45s DJ. I think so. I don't know.
No, but it's not just on 45. Like I've got.
Yeah, but I think it's part of being a collector and wanting to play stuff that people know but don't know.
Correct.
It's that. I love that. You play a version and someone sort of turns around and is like, what is this version? Where's this come from?
And that it always works at a gig. Like for me, I guess that's where my thinking comes from, is it works at a gig. Like I can play a different cover of Superstition and people are like, oh, what?
Exactly. Play a song they need. We need part 2. Get It Covered. Yes. Well, we've got another 2 coming up. Talking of getting covered, we're sort of expanding it a little bit in terms of what we're doing, because we've got Sam and Mattis doing a guitar covers, and then we've got ADP's going to do singing covers on a different show. And it's digital and it's vinyl, so we're just sort of opening the envelope, doing something new for 24.
I do not sing, so you will not hear me sing.
No,
unless I'm really, really drunk, and then I might sing Wham again.
I think we have Svalansky, I think.
He can sing it.
In the one corner, and then we can have Barty Cuts, who does some karaoke streams sometimes. He did a very drunken one for his birthday on Twitch, which is quite funny. So I think we should get those 2 together. Barty Cuts and Svalansky karaoke.
And Ricardo as well, Ricardo DJing.
We should do that. We just change what we're doing on Twitch completely, from moving from DJs to something else. Right, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit because I forgot to ask you this in advance, but I always ask my guests 3 45s that lift their spirits. Are you able to? You don't have to show them unless you've got them to hand, but can you think of 3 that you would particularly love?
Yeah, Let It and Bulu, What Is Wrong with Grooving. Nina Simone, Funkier Than a Mosquito's Tweeter.
Yes, and that is on 45 as well. That's a great 45.
Yeah. Third one. On the spot here. Probably Vera Hamilton, GSTK, whatever, how it goes.
Amazing.
But I ain't no more.
Okay, and then last thing, and I said we're going to do a part 2 because we will do a part 2 at some point. But I haven't asked you again to bring the sweets, and you said you haven't got anything to hand. But is there any particular Australian sweets or other sweets from around the world that you particularly enjoy?
I'm not a sweet person. I'm a savoury bitch. Salty all the way.
Well, tell us the savoury stuff that you like while I find someone to raid to.
See if Center's on.
Who's on? Sorry.
See if DJ Center's on.
I can't see him live at the
Really?
moment.
He should be live.
Oh, yeah, he's got it. I've got him. Yeah, cool. All right.
Yeah, good. Be good to go over there and see him.
Yeah, of course.
Caramello koalas are delicious. I don't know if you get them overseas. Cadbury's caramello koalas.
Are they like got a biscuit and then they're covered in chocolate?
No, they're just a wee little koala or chocolate that inside's caramel. I do love the hobnobs.
We get bunnies for Easter. I don't think we get koalas.
No, but they're tiny. They're like this. They're like this big. No. I love chocolate hobnobs.
Yes, they're good.
And I like normal hobnobs with cheese.
Normal hobnob. Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
So it's like savoury, sweet kind of weirdness.
Yeah.
That
all sounds good. Right, I'm going to set the raid, and if you just hang on there afterwards.
Sorry if I bored everyone to death today.
I don't think you bored anyone. It's been cool. Okay, the raid is set. Just want to make sure I spell everything right, and I think we are good to go. But no, thank you, Josie. It's been amazing. We've sort of. We didn't do it in the script that we thought we were going to do it, but it's been a lot of fun moving all over the place and talking about lots of stuff. But I think we should definitely do a part 2 and talk about stuff. Freddo frogs.
Yeah, but they get Freddo frogs overseas, I think.
We have Freddo, but yeah.
Freddo frogs? Freddo frogs are good.
Not the koalas. Here we go. Like a
caramel koala is so good.
There we go. We have chocolate bilbies.
We have chocolate bilbies for Easter, which is better than chocolate rabbit.
Yeah, hobnob. Thank you everyone for dropping in. It's been really great. Thank you to the
Thanks, Juice.
From Svalansky.
He's probably asleep.
Platt and Pats went into him in terms of the raid, and we sort of kept the flow going. And we're now going to take it to DJ Center. You've been showing off the water bottle.
Oh yeah.
That you got. So that was a lot of fun, and
his new 45 just arrived in my house yesterday. I got to play it
amazing
on stream, so on my doubles. It was great.
Amazing. And as Shoestring says, fucking great interview.
Oh, fucking thanks, Shoestring. Love you, gal. He's a good egg.
Right, take it easy, everyone. We're going to raid out in 2-1.
See you in centers.
Yeah.